Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda on the NES. This is probably my favorite game in the series. It's not because it's the best, but it just happens to be my personal favorite. The big reason why The Legend of Zelda is my favorite one is because this was the first game I ever got. So we had the regular one, the Mario and Duck Hunt for the NES, and then I got this for either my 5th or 6th birthday. I think maybe the fact that it was a gold card had something to play into it. But I remember getting it at a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant, and yeah, I got home and just really wanted to play this game. This became my favorite probably because we didn't own very many games growing up, so having one that was just mine was really cool. Now, this isn't an easy game at all. It's one that doesn't really hold your hand at all. It just throws you in there and lets you try to figure things out. You really needed to read the manual, and starting out, you needed the map until you could kind of understand everything. Hopefully, your manual was in English, because if you got the Famicom one, then that would have been kind of weird. I no longer have the complete in box English version, so I was able to pick up the Japanese version. And I don't, aside from the manual, I don't really need the map anymore, but it's just kind of a cool thing. I remember having this hung up in like our little video game room that we had, which also happened to be the laundry room at the time. So I think by now, pretty much everybody knows the story of the game and also the story behind the game, where it was really Shigeru Miyamoto's like inspiration and love of going outside and exploring things when he was a kid that kind of inspired this game as well. And that was one thing this game really encourages you to do is to actually burn every bush, blow up every rock, just really go out there and try to figure out where all the secrets are. I remember just like every day on the playground for it seemed like at least 2 or 3 years, my friends and I would be trying to figure out every secret. Like somebody will have just hit that magic spot where, okay, 4 rocks over on this screen, you can drop a bomb, blow it up, and you get a heart container. Or, this random bush like on the corner of this one part of the map where you never really went to or you kind of avoided because it was a longer way around. If you burn that, you can get the large shield for only 90 rubies instead of like 100 and something. But that was one of those weird things, like pre-internet, you needed your friends on the playground or you needed to kind of figure out other ways to do things. And yeah, it was just one of those games that now people play it and they can get kind of frustrated, and I understand why, because there's nothing that's really explained. You don't necessarily know where all the levels are, and you just kind of have to guess about a whole bunch of different stuff. Now, granted, I've been playing this game for like almost almost 30 years at this point. I love everything in this game. The second quest and then the no sword runs, those still kind of bother me a little bit, but the first quest is just so much fun for me. I could play this just over and over again for hours. I am nowhere near at the point where I could speedrun this game. I think it took me about 6 or 7 hours to beat this. I can't exactly remember, but it's just a really awesome game. One thing that this game did was really make me want to go out and just use my imagination a lot more when I would go out into nature, or when I got bored with playing the game, I would just come up with my own story for what's happening. And that was something that I feel is kind of lost in a few modern games, where you don't necessarily have that kind of freedom to just turn the game's story off because it's only a couple of paragraphs and just go off on your own and kind of figure out what you want the game to be. There are a few that let you do this, but it just felt like that was something that NES games let you do. Especially with The Legend of Zelda, where it's a very bare-bones story. You just need to go on a quest to save a princess, you need to kill Ganon at the end. We'll get more into that when I go through the dungeons and also the end, but it was just one of those things where you play this game and you can kind of get lost in it, especially if you're really into it. If you just start off and you're playing this on a ROM, it can be pretty frustrating just because you're given no information on where you need to go. And it really needs to make you go out and explore things. And that was something I really liked growing up. It just really connected with me. I know I'm rambling right now, but it's just one of those things. I love this game so much, and it's just kind of hard to describe why. So let's drop that for a second and talk a little bit about the different levels. Just like the outside world in this, or the overworld in the game, not a lot is really explained to you on what you need to do and where you need to go. You just need to kind of explore the levels to find the different secrets within them, like find all the different items that you're going to need in order to beat the game. And even, just find the different ways to, like, shortcut the level and everything. I remember playing A Link to the Past with a friend of mine, and seeing for the first time that some of the walls were cracked, and he's like, well, that's where you put the bombs. And I'm just like, well, that kind of makes it a whole hell of a lot easier, doesn't it? Because, in the NES version, you're not given that. You just, again, just like the overworld, you're supposed to just drop bombs and hope that everything works out for you. I just keep coming back to the fact that you need to explore everything, and some of that's really the case with just finding the damn levels, like figuring out what ones you're supposed to go to. The first one is kind of straightforward because you come to a tree with a giant mouth in it, and you, of course, because, I don't know why, but the game kind of gives you that, it's kind of like a hint because you do have a few caves that you can go in. And you go up to this tree, and it's just like, well, I could probably go down that. Now, in any other normal world, you might not do that. You might not want to just go down this random tree. But you get rewarded here by finding the first level. And from there on, for the most part, there are a few things that get weird at the end, but for the most part, you're gonna find these levels just by finding a large kind of shrine-looking thing with a face that you have to go into. Except for with like level 7, level 8, and level 9, and also with level 5, because heaven forbid they, have anything like that. Level 5, you actually, have to go into one of the lost sections and just keep going up until you find it. And with 8, you have to burn a bush in order to find it. With 7, I know that there are tips to find 7 in the game. I honestly don't remember where they are because I've just memorized what you need to do. You go to a lake and you blow the whistle, and for some godforsaken reason that makes the lake disappear. I don't know, video game logic probably determines that was okay, but yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then I'll talk a little bit more about 9 later, and just, no matter how many times I play this game, 9 always just annoys me a little bit, just from a location standpoint. And I can see some of just the frustrations in this game to try to find the different stuff. Because, like, every once in a while, it's like, how the hell was the game expecting me to be able to find these things? Or, how is it expecting me to, know that I need to push this certain block, especially with 7 here? How was I supposed to know to push that specific block in order to get out? it can be really, really frustrating, and I definitely see why some people don't like this version. But it's just so much fun to me. Like, I don't know why, it's just so much fun to play this game and go through all these different things. If I really buckled down, I could probably speedrun it, but there's something about just taking my time with this game that I don't really ever want to learn how to do that. God, and I remember sometimes, I think when we were first playing through it, myself and my brother, oh god, we got stuck so many times just trying to figure out what you were supposed to do. Especially in like the later levels where we would have done it once and then like a few months would have gone by and we would have just totally forgotten how to do it. I will say this, like a lot of the bosses, like they don't give you that great of a payoff anymore. Especially with 7 where you go in, you fight the same boss from level 1. Or, oh god, the stupid crab boss when you fight him the first time. And you can just like one-shot him and then he's dead. Or the 3rd boss where you can drop a bomb and just take him out with one shot. It's fun to find all those weird things, but sometimes the payoff for them is just kind of like, what the fuck? At least with the 4th boss, I remember that one being just so much harder than it really is. Where you can just like sit there and keep hitting the heads over and over again, assuming you have enough heart containers. But I remember when I first played it, being just absolutely terrible at this, and just going through so many potions to actually beat this stupid boss. It was really kind of embarrassing. And I'll tell you the truth, it actually took me a long time to beat this game. I think the first time I beat it was probably in high school, just because other stuff would come out and I would, move on and whatnot. But it was so much fun when I finally beat it, and it was just like, oh my god, I beat this game! And, like, you tell your friends, and they're like, what, we don't care. Like, you beat at that point, like, 10, 15-year-old game, like, nobody cared about that, but I really did, and it was just something awesome and whatnot like that. I do have a few complaints about this game, just things that even I think are just ridiculous, and I'll get into those in just a second. So yeah, just really quick, the things that I really don't like. The fact that your arrows are tied to your rupees, I think is really dumb. If they could figure out, like, bombs, I'm pretty sure they could have figured out arrows. It probably would have limited the number that you add. How just some of the bosses are way too easy, at least now they are. How some of the hints in this are in rooms that you probably would never go to, but you might stumble on them if you're really lost. And maybe that's just a time thing, but it's still pretty annoying with this game. Oh, and now we get to level 9. Oh my god, this thing. Like, if they created just such a ridiculous maze, it's awesome the way they did it, at least me looking at it now. At the time, I was like, this is just the stupidest thing in the entire world. How are you expecting anybody to get through this? Fighting Ganon is kind of annoying, especially, trying to figure out exactly what to do and whatnot. But eventually you can pull it off. It's not super hard, just 4 hits with the sword, and then you one-shot him with a silver arrow and he's done, which is kind of goes out like a chump, but whatever. It's just one of those weird things. And also, when you get to Spectacle Rock, it's 2 rocks in the middle of nowhere, and I always bomb the wrong goddamn one. I don't know why, just every time I blow up the one on the right when it's supposed to be the one on the left that lets you in. I wish I could explain why I do that, but it's just, whatever. But yeah, as much as I love this game, and it really is, it's my favorite in the series. It's not very accessible to new players, just because. But there are plenty of walkthroughs that you can go through, and if you're really motivated to get through this, um, some of the bosses can be a little, like the payoff really isn't all that great. They kind of go down pretty easy once you figure out what you need to do. Figuring out what you need to do can be a little annoying, but you can definitely do it. Oh gosh, what other fun things can I mention about this? Yeah, it's just a really great game. It made me want to go out and just, you know, it's one of those games that I love playing it, but I really love thinking about it and just going out and exploring the world. Yeah, it's just so much. I really love playing this. It's just such an awesome game. Anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap it up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have a game that's just you really love and it's kind of hard to explain why, let me know. And have a great day, everybody.